This show is brought to you by Interesting Radio. You can find all our shows over at interestingradio.nz. Hold on to your hats. This could be interesting.
Welcome to TCBI Questions, the show where we ask the tough questions and the not so tough questions totally at random. And joining me today, at last, is Joe.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Joe. You've been listening to my podcasts for over a year in various forms, and it's taken me this long to actually get you in the studio.
I don't like the sound of my own voice, Dan. Lots of people would dispute that, but that's the truth.
All right, so let's... what is it? So the rules are that there are no skips unless the question doesn't apply, or your answer will only be one sentence, because that's not very interesting. And adult language is okay if you desperately need it to answer the question.
Dan, you know me well enough now to know that I can't go for 10 minutes without using adult language. Right, I'll do my best. I'll keep it G-rated.
All right, here we go. We'll start off with the starter question.
Mm-hmm.
What time do you usually wake up in the morning? Do you awaken naturally or need an alarm?
Okay, the fact that I've got 3 kids and a puppy probably answers this question pretty simply. Don't remember the last time I set my alarm clock.
Wow.
Probably because, there's somebody in the house that's always awake before me. And if I did have to wake up naturally, I'm definitely a morning person anyway. So, I think I don't need my alarm clock.
I am definitely not a morning person.
Yeah, I can tell. Sorry for getting you up out of bed this morning, Dan. No.
That's all right. Though I did wake up before my alarm this morning.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I've got a friend who swears by banging her head on the pillow like at 7 times, and then she'll wake up at 7 o'clock.
Oh, that's interesting.
And she reckons it's never failed her.
Huh. Yeah, no, my alarm was set for 8 and I woke up at 7:43.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect.
There we go.
And I feel less groggy when I get out of bed if I wake up naturally too, but if the alarm wakes you up, it's just...
Yeah.
It's probably the same with kids waking up.
Yeah, the thing with kids is it's not like... An alarm can be quite frustrating or annoying.
Yeah.
But you can whack it and turn it off.
Yeah.
I find that when you whack a kid, the noise just increases. Please, I'm having you on. I'm just joking. My kids do wake me up every morning, and it's not like it's just a peaceful rise in the noise level. It's straight in, straight on, 100% from go.
Yeah.
So you don't have an opportunity to be groggy. That's why me and coffee are such good friends.
Ah, of course.
Yeah.
All right, over to you to ask the next question.
Right, so I'm asking you start a question, right?
So we've got that one there.
Rightio, 100 fathoms. We're going down. Are you more likely, Dan, to avoid conflict or engage in it head on, and why?
I tend to engage in it head on, and I'm well known among everyone for actually getting in there and getting stuff sorted out. And Joe's looking really shocked.
I am. I love that.
I don't beat around the bush ever. Yeah. Going into stores to ask for refunds and that kind of thing. I do that for so many of my friends because they just won't do it.
I've actually got a pair of shoes at home that my girlfriend has told me if I don't get in there this week, she's going to do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
And I even went in and discussed it with them before I had to take the shoes in, and they said that's fine, and I still can't bring myself to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm always the one that's head on into the conflict, even if it's, someone else's conflict. I just, no, if you're not going to deal with it, I'm going to deal with it.
So even with like family situations and stuff like that, they don't get a chance to, no it's just in.
I'm just straight in, just sort yourselves out.
Does that work for you?
Most of the time. It annoys people a lot. But yeah, it tends to resolve situations faster than people being silly about it.
Is that because you're impatient or because you want to see the situation improve?
I've just always been very direct.
Yeah.
And when people are not direct, even though, because if you're indirect about something, everyone still knows what you're saying. So why not just say it?
I tend to agree. But there's different ways you can say it.
Yeah, I'm not very subtle.
I think subtlety is overrated, but kindness is never overrated.
Yeah.
So you can get to the point and still allow people to have a bit of dignity in it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Though it gets to the point where they lose that privilege if they take too long or they don't listen, then it's like, right, I'm done.
Where does Becky sit on this?
She doesn't like that I do it, not very much, but I've also kind of brought her around, both her and her sister, because they've both been very, avoiding confrontation. I've slowly moved them around to actually, standing up for what they want rather than going, Dan, can you deal with that?
Yeah. It's actually a really important skill to be able to do that. I'm just not very good at it.
Yeah, you spend more time around me and you'll have no choice.
Oh, that's why I avoid you, Dan. No, that's why I avoid the podcast. Too confronting for me.
Yeah, it is, especially the last podcast that you were thinking about being on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I really wanted to get into that. But I think that sometimes you have to understand that that your job isn't to change people's beliefs.
Yeah.
So I stood back from the conflict in that situation.
All right, so 100 fathoms from me. Mm-hmm. How much of a people watcher are you, and in what places do you find yourself people watching?
I love watching people.
Yeah,
when I was
really
traveling overseas, I would spend hours sitting in parks or cafes or public transport, just going around the circuit. I just find people absolutely fascinating, and I find myself watching people everywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely everywhere. Shopping, out at sports functions, just all the time. School, just everywhere. Yeah, totally fascinated by people and the interactions. Yeah.
Yeah, church is another interesting one.
Yeah, it is actually. It is very, and I often find myself watching people instead of focusing on what we're supposed to be focusing on. But I think you can just tell so much about watching people, and I think too sometimes we're so busy doing things that we forget to stop and watch people. And by watching people, you can learn so much more about them by listening sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. When the things that people do when they don't think they're being watched.
Yeah. And
just those unconscious things that people do that give you a big insight into what people are like.
Yeah, I especially love watching kids. I was a teacher in my past life, and I love watching kids because they get so involved in what they do and regularly forget that there's other people around them.
Yeah, and
you get a real insight into their minds and where they're at, and it's just fascinating for me. I really envy the kids' ability to just totally lose themselves in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love watching people. Yeah,
no, I do it all the time as well. And yeah, as a male, it sometimes gets you in trouble.
And as a female, you get high fives.
Yeah.
Oh, that seems wrong. Okay, I didn't know we were talking about that kind of watching. I must admit, well, I do refrain from watching people on the beach or at the swimming pool.
Yeah, or even just people watching in normal situations, people get the wrong idea when you're a guy.
Oh, yeah. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
You got to do it subtly, though, don't you? Wear your sunnies.
Yeah.
Then nobody knows where you're looking, mate. Best thing that you've learnt from watching people? Best moment?
I think it's always been the happy moments, people, celebrating with themselves.
Yeah.
About, either they've received a message that's awesome or they've, even if it's just, completing the Sudoku puzzle on the paper, just that little celebration.
Yeah.
Where they think no one's watching.
Yeah. I like airports for that too. The comings and the goings and the emotions that are involved. That's always fantastic. I think the moments that I love watching are those little moments of affection. It might be, a little kid grabbing a hand or, one of the kids at school putting their arm around somebody who's just fallen over or something like that. I think they're real special moments to catch.
Yeah, and I think, talking about airports, it's probably my favourite place to people watch just because of the diversity of, cultures and everything as well.
And it's always really intense.
Yeah.
Because it's either a really good thing or a really bad thing.
Mm.
So it filters out all the the grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are either going on holiday or going to do something they don't really want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy also watching older people.
Yeah.
And when they grab each other's hand or they go and they fix up the tie or something like that. And often at cafes you can catch them, and there's just an incredible beauty about the fact that they've obviously done something a certain way forever, and it's still something that they do, and it's just really lovely. So yeah, I love watching people. Does that make me weird?
No, it's all right. I do it too.
Good. Is it my turn?
It is.
Okay. Oh, we're on to religion.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you agree with the statement, going to church doesn't make you a Christian any more than going to a garage makes you an automobile? That's a quote from Billy Sunday, perhaps?
Yeah.
And why or why not? It's a curly one.
It is. We just had Easter, right? My possibly not particularly PC view is that the church seems to be a lot more full on Easter and on Christmas.
Oh, absolutely.
And it seems to be that there's a lot of people that only go to church on Easter and Christmas. And does that make them a member of the church if they're not going regularly? Because I tend to look at them and go, well, what's stopping you from coming all the rest of the time as well? And are you convincing yourself that you are fully practicing just by going at Easter and Christmas? And I don't think they are. Not going all the time as a habit and a ritual seems to lessen it when they go on the special occasions with air quotes. Yeah,
I'm on both sides of this one, because I totally understand why they make an effort at Christmas and they make an effort at Easter. And I totally understand why Sunday morning or a weekly commitment to a service is not something that people make a priority in their lives, especially in New Zealand. It saddens me, because I think that we, our community, and that our religion isn't just something, or our faith isn't something between ourselves and God alone. God is community, Father, Son, and Spirit. And so we are born into community. We are community. If we acknowledge God in our lives, or have a relationship with God in our lives, we also need to understand that we've got a relationship with everybody in God's family. So to have a commitment to that as well is, I think, very important. But I guess everybody has different reasons for what they do, and justifications why they think Sunday morning isn't a priority. And I guess I sit on the place where, who am I to judge what position they're in?
Yeah.
And I'd love for them to be able to change their minds and be more involved, but I don't know how you go about that.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating one, isn't it? Because there are some people also, and you'll hear this frequently, that come along on a Sunday morning and then leave it there on a Sunday morning, and they walk out the door and they don't take it with them, which is one of the biggest things for us to do. So sometimes they frustrate me just as much as those people who don't come.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Regularly.
And then you have the people that are straight out the door after communion as well.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. You really actually, taking it with you.
Yeah. But again, we're all at different places on our journey, and we're all at different markers along the way, that discovery. And I guess that I feel really fortunate to feel that it's important to my life that I want to go on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Not
that it's a habit or that it's something that I should do. So I hope for those people, I guess, that they get to that position as well. Maybe I could help them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting one, because you kind of have to balance and not trying to judge people as well, because it's definitely not our place, but you can't help it sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I recently had a discussion. I don't know that this is going to help my cause, actually. I had a discussion with somebody who said that they had somebody that they knew that was very dedicated to coming every Sunday morning and was very heavily involved with the church, and then woke up one Sunday morning and decided not to go to Mass and to see if it would be any different, and they haven't been back.
Oh, wow.
So that, again, I mean, I've sat with, this is a conversation I had a few weeks ago, and I've just been sitting with that thought, and I find it incredibly fascinating that the encounter that we long for as Christians can get missed on a Sunday morning so easily by some people. So I think that's a challenge for those people who are there on a Sunday morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that was kind of sad.
Yeah.
I don't know that there was any positives in that last comment. Who knows? Right up until the last moment, people can change, and yeah. The good thing is that it's not totally our worry.
No.
Somebody else has got a hand in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. All right. Next question. 500 fathoms.
Yeah.
What hot topic usually turns into an argument with you?
So if you'd asked me this question 10 years ago, I probably would have said religion.
Yeah.
But to be fair, and I had to run this by letting you in on a wee secret here. I actually did have a wee nosy at this question before I came. And I said to my husband, Dean, I said, what would your answer be for me in this respect? And he goes, definitely religion. And I said, really? And I sort of questioned him about it a little bit more. And he came around at the end to the fact that I don't actually argue. I like to have really good conversations. But I think that when you get into an argument, you end up shutting down conversation and it becomes about proving somebody wrong and proving yourself right. And I really, really struggle with ego and its negative effect that it has on everybody and everything. So I consciously try and work to open up conversation as opposed to start an argument.
Right.
Yeah, so I could probably say that I don't really argue. I just have really good conversations. Do you see my difference there?
Yeah.
Do you agree with me?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, it's always a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everybody by any means.
Yeah.
But I love that we're able to have our own opinion and it doesn't have to be forced on somebody else and it doesn't have to be that we all have to agree to get on. That's what makes this place so amazing, is that we're all so varied and we should be able to have our own opinions.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing though, because if you're trying to have a conversation with someone and they're in that argumentative frame of mind, they're going to be trying to shut down the conversation.
Absolutely. And so I've got an uncle who I had a discussion with last Christmas, and we were talking about refugees, and he's got a very old school opinion.
Yeah.
And I think that if you can understand where their opinions come from, then you don't need to get involved in the argument. And for him, I think his point of reference was that he was scared he was going to lose what he had.
Right.
And so that fear made him think that what he was saying was truth. And I can't control that fear that he's got in him. I can only live the way I live and try and help him experience it in a different way. And so it kind of took the heat out of it. I felt myself getting quite worked up. Yeah. And then I realised that in fact he needed to be having that opinion because that was where he was feeling safe and he wasn't able to move from that. So it was a pointless discussion to have with him really, but I let him vent. I repeated back to him what he'd said a few times and it was good. But you're right. For it not to turn into an argument, you need to have at least one person who doesn't have the point to prove.
That's as human beings, that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
If you believe something, you want to advocate for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I think sometimes the best type of advocating you can do is to allow somebody to come to that position freely.
Yeah.
As soon as I try to force any of my kids into doing something, they dig their toes in and they're never going to that place that I want them to go to.
Absolutely.
But if I can get alongside them and maybe show them a different way of looking at it or bribe them, then often they might find themselves in the place that I wanted them to be in the first place. Let's not call it manipulation.
No, of course not.
But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a toe-to-toe. People will attack and they'll fight. And I don't know that you can go very far in that sort of situation.
No.
Do you like to argue?
My hot topic issues are all around IT things.
Yeah.
Especially people that do stupid things like open emails with viruses in them. And I can't get past calling that stupid.
You don't have to argue about that. That's the truth.
Yeah. But
Then how do you know that there's a virus in them when you open them?
yeah, well, you don't open emails from people that you don't know.
No, fair enough. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. I'm safe.
Yeah, and like those calls, hello, I'm Mr. What's his name from Microsoft. Do you have a problem with your computer? Those calls and people that get sucked in by that, I just shake my head. And yeah, so it's always that kind of thing. I'm always kind of drilling that into people.
Yeah.
Like, just think about what you're doing. I don't run antivirus on my computer and I've never had a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? But you wouldn't argue with them. You just think that they're stupid.
Yeah, and then I tell them, don't, if you want to keep your computer safe, do these things or don't do these things. And then they fight back saying, but why? And no way to convince them that, there are people out there that do want to get
actually
into their
harm
computers and steal their money.
Yeah. We got our money stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody in Luxembourg was having fun on our credit card.
Ah.
Yeah.
So your credit card must have got skimmed.
No, apparently
something.
there was a computer program. The fraud office, this was fascinating, although it took about a month to sort out, and we can't live without a credit card. When your husband travels and has to book flights and cars.
Yeah.
Good story to go with that, but I'll tell you that one later. Apparently there was some sort of computer-generated program that just tries different numbers, and it landed upon something that worked. But we were really lucky because it made 3 debits from our account within the space of 5 minutes for exactly the same amount, and it was a bizarre amount. So as soon as something like that happens, the bank closes it down.
Yeah.
But it happened to my sister as well.
Wow.
And we're not big online kind of use your credit card for different things, but it's just one of those things. But the bank here caught it, so it was quite good.
Yeah, that one's hard to avoid because with scammers and things like that, like you go to a restaurant overseas and they take your credit card behind the bar to charge it, and they can just nip down and swipe it in something else as well.
Yeah, that's true. I tried to have a conversation with one of those telephone people. It was fascinating because they kept on asking me to read out the number that came up on the computer, and so I read it, just made up some number.
Yeah.
And then they said, look, could you repeat that? And I just read back a totally different number. I think I had him on the phone for about 8 minutes, and then I think he ended up hanging up. So that was quite fun. But is that okay? Can I do that? Or can they skip something from my voice?
No. It's a bit of a game in the IT industry to see how long you can keep them on the phone.
Oh, is it? So I was a geek and I didn't know it.
Yeah. Like some people have kept them on for hours.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll
Who's scamming who there?
Yeah, so they'll get them on the phone and they'll have a computer over here that's isolated from everything and like has none of their data on it, and they'll let them into that one.
Yeah.
And just constantly play games with them. And that if you ever look on YouTube, there's so many people that have uploaded 2-hour videos of talking to these people.
Is it financially viable for these guys to be doing this?
It must be, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it.
Or is it like treasure hunting?
Yeah.
The promise of something.
You catch one person that gives you, 1,000, you get $1,000 from, then it's worthwhile. But that's the
change your career.
Yeah. But yeah, the longer people that know it's a scam keep them on the phone, the less time they have to scam somebody
else. So we're doing the world a favour.
Yeah.
Damn, that's good. You don't know what I'm doing next time they ring me. Actually, I could take that line with all of my telemarketers.
Yeah.
HRV systems.
Yeah. You just keep them on the phone.
Double glazing.
Look, I haven't got anything to do for the next hour.
Insulation. Yeah. I hate it. I just got rid of my landline for that reason.
Yeah, we don't have one. We had one for the alarm.
Yeah.
Before we went to internet-based, and the only time the phone ever rang was telemarketers.
Yeah, and my mum. Sorry, mum. Right, am I up next?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're. How reliable, Dan, do you think the Bible is as a historical document? Can you please explain?
That's an interesting question for me, actually, because one of the things I struggled with when I was converting was not seeing it as a historical document. Because I would read it and it would be face value, and it took me a long time to be able to read into more of the meaning of it. So, do I think how reliable I think it is? Well, that's all I treated it as at the start, was a historical document.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Chop the head off of somebody that hurts you. How'd you go with that?
Yeah, so it's... Yeah, that I had trouble kind of, getting more meaning out of it than just reading it as the words on the page.
Yeah.
So that's interesting question for me.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question, and I think that people who dive into this could easily lose an entire lifetime trying to filter or distill the essence of some of the passages. And actually, this is one thing that I could perhaps get into an argument with somebody over. It was the story of Genesis. And I always go back to the fact that the Bible is truth, but it might not be historically correct throughout. And that is because of the nature of the fact that it was written for a certain audience at a certain time. It was written in a certain language for people of a certain culture. And really, it's far too simplistic for us to think that the written record is 100% accurate and means exactly what it says on the page literally, because nobody has ever written. I mean, some of the parts of the Bible are poetry. So with poetry comes a whole lot of different interpretation. Some of them are parables, which we know aren't fact, but are there to give us the message. I guess I hold on to the idea that it's truth and that the Bible is inspired by God, and that the Bible is a gift for us to deepen our encounter and our experiences of God, with God and with our community. So the more you read into it, I reckon, the more you find stuff out about it, and I don't think you could ever exhaust the interpretations or the messages in it. But I think that's what kind of makes it exciting as well.
And yeah, even on just a logical level, written in different languages, just the act of translating it and changing cultures changes the meaning. Yeah,
and people still today are finding different meanings because of the fact that they found something else in the culture back then that meant something else. And so I think that you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you look at it as a literal historical text, which I don't think.
No.
I'm always really nervous that I'm going to offend somebody.
On the internet, it's really hard not to offend anyone with everything you say.
Awesome. Okay, so I just apologise to everybody I've just offended.
Well, the other thing is, if you apologise to everyone all the time, that's all you'll ever do as well. So
True. Yeah, I love the fact that we are given this and it's our job to interpret it. I think that sort of says a lot about how God views human beings and how much faith God has in us to actually get it right. It's a bit of a responsibility.
Yeah.
But kind of cool, because if it was just a set of rules and regulations and to-dos, life's a wee bit boring, really. And
you'd find a lot of people would not follow anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And life's so much more than a list of to-dos and rights and wrongs. And that's what makes it so amazing.
And interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, it's definitely not a historical text, eh?
Yeah.
Good. Anything else to add on that one? I quite like this. I can have an opinion and nobody can ask me about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. I'm not going to read any of the feedback that we get from them.
All right, so 100 fathoms.
Yep.
What objects from your childhood have you saved, and explain why?
To be fair, I don't know that I've really saved many objects from my childhood. I have kept letters and cards that people have given me. And when I was away, I used to write to my nana all the time, and I've kept all of our correspondence.
Yeah.
And I've kept my teddy bear.
Yeah.
From when I was really little. I don't know, Dan. I guess, we've got photos, but I'm not really a things person.
Yeah.
So I find that quite, like from high school I kept a bit of stuff, but from actual childhood, I don't know that there's too many things. Like my mum kept stuff for me. She kept books. So I've got my storybooks from primary school, which are always really interesting. And she kept the stuff that we were baptised in.
Mm-hmm.
And, not too much else. What about you?
Yeah, it's mainly like teddy bear and certificates from school.
Oh
and
yeah.
I've got a couple of scrapbooks in my old wardrobe at my parents' house with all my certificates and all the souvenirs from the trips we took and things like that.
Oh, that is cool. I've actually done that for my own kids, but I don't know where my stuff would be. I guess I've got it in a box somewhere. Oh, I haven't really kept that much stuff. What will you do for your kids?
I think it's going to be a lot more digital. I'm actually thinking about, so I'm going home next week, thinking about going through and actually digitizing some of it.
Oh, that's a big effort. That's like trying to organise photos.
Yeah. Well, the Dropbox app has a really good scanner now, and it actually scans it and kind of removes all the colour, and it kind of looks like a photocopy.
Ah.
So it's really quick to just bang, 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 go through.
Get that on your apps, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use it for all the receipts from stores and things like that.
Oh, and you just get them online?
Yeah.
Oh, Dan. I could learn so much from how you live your life. I can't actually at the moment figure out how to make my, I don't even know how to say it. When I go online, somebody played with my computer and it went to a different server than the one that I want to use or something. And it's like every time I got to reset it. And so like you'd get incredibly frustrated living with me. What about Becky? Is she into it?
Yeah.
So she's all over this stuff as well?
Yeah, she is.
Oh, that's really good. But before you got married, did Father Jared talk to you about how important it was to have similar ideas on IT before you got married?
No, it didn't come up.
Did he not? Did not come up?
Maybe it should in this modern day, though.
I think perhaps it should, like how you think about money, how you think about family, how you think about IT.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I reckon we should get this into the pre-marriage course.
Yeah, Becky and I were actually talking about that the other day, and she was saying, I could have gone into IT rather than teaching, but then we'd never have any peace at home.
No.
Because we'd both have different ideas about how to do everything.
Yeah.
So it's easier just for one person to have that and just to do it all.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're going to have some really interesting conversations about how you're going to share It's just like having a kid.
Yeah.
Isn't it? How are we going to bring this up?
Yeah.
What schools are going to go to? What systems are we going to use? Which app's better? That's where the end of my IT talk comes to.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. Just looking around the room, for those people who haven't been in Dan's studio, there are like 12 screens. There are a million different cords. There's stuff everywhere. I feel quite like I'm in a foreign place at the moment.
And with all the soundproofing, you kind of get shut off from the outside world as well.
Yeah. You could live in here, couldn't you?
Yeah. Probably.
I love it. All right. What's next?
All right. Over to you for a question.
Oh, are you ever a high maintenance person? And explain.
That's 500 fathoms.
Yeah, 500 fathoms. We're going deep.
I'm not particularly. I generally just go with the flow and do my own thing. And generally sort myself out for pretty much everything.
Yeah. I'm taking it from that Becky's the high maintenance one in the relationship. Becky, I'm sorry.
No. No, we're both pretty good.
Oh, good.
As long as the house is tidy and we eat and those are the important things, right? The house is clean, you have food.
It's funny for you to say that because you obviously like conflict and you like to have good arguments, but you're quite low maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes a low maintenance person?
Yes, I don't have many demands on other people. I think that's, think of high maintenance person as someone who has like high demands on other people for things. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Or high demands for self, perhaps. Could be a high maintenance person. I don't think I'm very high maintenance. I can't be. I've got a family. I've got 3 kids who are really high maintenance. A husband who I love is high maintenance. No, I'm just having you on. No, low maintenance rocks. I'm all for low maintenance. I could live out of a suitcase. You couldn't.
No, I don't know. Give me clothes and a computer and
you could live out of a laptop.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but
though it'd be a bit hard to do the podcasting. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Have you got plans for another podcast?
Yeah, I've got a few kind of ready to launch with episodes recorded. It's just a matter of getting them out the door.
Oh.
hopefully in these next couple of weeks I'll get them out.
Do you miss doing your other one?
A little bit. It's kind of changed how I live my faith because I'm not talking about it with the group every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, we started to run out of things to talk about. And as bad as that sounds, but when we had the RCIA process to follow, it was really easy to follow that. But with everyone just being busy, it took a lot of time to find things to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
But yeah, with all this equipment, I can't just do one podcast.
No. You need to do lots. It'll be interesting to see what comes up next. Can you live off making podcasts?
Some people do.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I know people that have podcasts as their full-time job. But it's very hard to get into, and especially these days. Like in the past, like say 2004, 2005, when podcasting started, it was a lot easier to get in because there weren't many people doing it.
Yeah. And now everyone's doing it.
Yeah, so you have to be in the top 1% of podcasts, you're getting like 10,000 downloads.
Wow.
So that's a comparison, TV shows that get, 1 million viewers.
Yeah.
It's actually quite small.
Yeah.
It's also really hard to get that many people.
What are your favourite podcasts to listen to?
I listen to a lot of Catholic podcasts, actually. Not just because they're Catholic, but for it's mostly husband and wife teams that, just talk about their lives and things as well, what's going on with the kids and all that kind of thing. Technology podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one podcast network, Gimlet. They do a lot of story-based podcasts.
Yeah. So
things like Crime Show, where they like tell you the story of crimes that have been committed and like start to finish. And
So, okay, give me your top 3 off the top of your head. Catholic podcasts.
Greg and Jennifer's Adventures in Imperfect Living.
Yep.
Catholic in a Small Town, and Just a Catholic Dad.
And are they all American?
First 2 are. Third one, he's English.
Okay, so for people who are techs.
I don't actually listen to as many tech podcasts. I'm going to have to get my phone out.
Okay, get your phone, get your phone out.
Let's have a look. I have too many podcasts.
Yeah, so that's the problem with me. I go onto podcasts and I want to find one that's really awesome, but I can't be bothered sifting through all the other stuff. How do I search to make sure I'm getting good podcasts? Or is it just the reviews I have to read?
It's just reviews and a matter of finding them, yeah. So I listen to the Stack Overflow podcast, which is a website.
Yep.
Laravel podcast, which is the coding framework that I use.
Mm-hmm.
And This Week in Radio Tech. So they talk about this kind of audio stuff, which is quite interesting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. My favorite podcast at the moment is The Way I Heard It with Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dirty Jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tells 5-minute stories about all sorts of interesting things. But I love the format because he doesn't tell you who or what he's talking about until the very end.
Yeah.
So you get the whole story and then he reveals who he's talking about.
And are the people that he's talking about famous people?
Yes. So in a lot of cases, you'll already know who it is by the end.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't, and then just that moment of realization is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Now it all makes sense.
Yeah. I've tried to get my husband onto podcasts, and he's right into car racing and Formula One and Porsches.
Right.
And stuff. And so I've got him a couple of podcasts which he's going to listen to. But the problem is some of the podcasts that he's looked up are like 2 hours long.
Yeah. Some of the ones I listen to, like there's an aviation podcast I listen to, and it's 3 hours long.
Come on. Surely you can say what you've got to say in 20 to 40 minutes and then you can get out of there.
Well, they do, but then they respond to listener feedback for the rest of the show.
Oh, okay.
So they have like 45 minutes of show and then 2 hours and 15 minutes of responding to feedback.
Okay, I've gone to sleep. Okay, that's one of my problems, and that could make me slightly high maintenance, is that I'm quite impatient.
Yeah, so you just want them to get to the point.
Just give me the point, like shake it down to the essence of the whole thing. Tell it to me so I can move on, please.
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid rushing in life, but when it's actually ingrained in you, it's quite an interesting thing to deal with.
Yeah, and when you're busy as well, it's good to get things done fast.
Yeah. But I think taking time to listen to a 3-hour podcast could perhaps be a goal for me. I like it. Right, who's up next?
All right. Where did we get to? There we go. 1,000 Fathoms.
Oh, dear.
What do you think about more than anything else?
I I automatically want to say family.
Yeah.
Don't hate me. But I don't think that's what I think about the most. I think about the meaning of life. It occupies my my thoughts constantly. Why we're here, what our purpose is, what my purpose is. Yeah, the whole faith thing, it's just a constant conversation in my head with 3 monkeys and a drum kit.
Yeah. It's not a nice way to talk about your husband. Drum kit.
No. I think, though, that intertwined with that is family. I love my family, and I've always wanted to be a family person. And, but yeah, what occupies my thoughts the most is how we can do this better. What's the point in all this? All those sort of really deep and meaningful questions. And I can go over those questions many, many times, and often throughout the day I'll have moments of clarity, and then I'll lose those moments, and I'll look for them again in the next interaction. But yeah, honestly, that's what goes on in my head most of the time.
Yeah, and I don't think those questions are something that you ever find a solid and definite answer for, which is what makes life interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then with the more information you get, sometimes your answers change, or your perspective on the situation changes, or you're challenged with a different set of a different situation to try and put what your thoughts are into to make it sort of sit. So yeah. It sounded like that conversation could go on forever, but it's pretty simple actually. Yeah. It's just, what's the point to all of this? Why am I here, really? What about you?
Yeah, I find myself thinking about that from time to time. Then I go, wow, I'm not really sure if I want to go down this path right now.
So where do you go to?
What do I think about more? Well, one thing is what I can do for other people. I'm constantly doing things for other people rather than myself, which is potentially not always a good thing. Yeah,
I hear you on that one.
That's just what I do. Yeah. And then it's all the IT stuff. I'm constantly... Well, especially if I'm working on a piece of software, like at the moment I'm rewriting the software for this show, and it'll just be constantly on my mind. I'll be planning it and mapping it and working out how all the logic's going to fit together. Yeah. And I'll be doing that, while I'm having a conversation with
somebody else. I know.
And then I have to go, I need to go and find my iPad and draw all it.
Yeah. So when do you most often have your moments of clarity?
Usually in the shower.
Yeah.
I get stuck, I'll end up having a half an hour shower because I've got lost in thought and spent 20 minutes just standing under the water.
Thinking about what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's walking or exercising outside, usually walking these days because I'm getting old. But when I'm perhaps not thinking about it consciously, I think some of the clearest moments come to me. Do you know when you stop actually trying to solve the problem? Which is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me it's probably in the shower, both because it's just relaxing and because generally I've got headphones in listening to a podcast or music
in
all
the
the
shower.
rest of the time. No, not in the shower. It's about the only time I don't.
Okay, now this brings me to another point actually. This is one of our 1,000 questions, or 1,000 fathoms, but 1,000 questions. But do you think that our constant need to continually think and have noise is an issue these days? Do you know where I'm going with that?
Not entirely.
So I often watch people around me, and I'm always thinking about why we do what we do and all that sort of stuff. And I notice that people, maybe it's just because I'm an adult, but when I was younger, I felt like people had more quiet space.
Yeah.
In their minds and their lifestyles, in their IT world even, because you could turn things off, or things were purposefully turned off for you, or shops weren't open, or it wasn't expected for you to do things 7 days a week. It was only a Monday to Friday working day. And I wonder whether we have got, I don't want to call it a sickness, but something that doesn't actually allow us to fully appreciate our lives because we're always got noise in our heads.
Yeah, I guess I get bored if I don't have noise.
Really?
Yeah.
So does it make you feel uncomfortable to sit and try and turn the noise off?
No. I can do it in, bursts, but having constant silence and no noise just would drive me crazy. But I can sit for an hour and not have any noise, and that's fine. But
yeah. But do you have a constant noise in your head during that hour?
yeah, I suppose I do.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just find this fascinating. I think that we need to more than ever be able to turn off.
Yeah,
actually appreciate what we do.
I've never been able to turn my mind off.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I've been thinking about, and I just don't quite know where I'm going with it. But I just can't help thinking that there's something in it. Even my kids, like, I think you've got to get bored to be inspired.
Yeah.
You've got to have downtime to muck around and find out how things work, or you've got to turn your iPad off to look at somebody else in their house.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just think, and it's the same with our lives. We're so busy filling up every single moment with activities and commitments, and I think it gives us a sense of purpose if we're always busy or something like that.
Yeah.
But I really am trying to sit with the fact that we've got purpose without doing anything.
Yeah, I tend to feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not busy all the time.
Which annoys me, because I do too, but I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's the truth. I think maybe we're actually appreciating time doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard feeling to shake though.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I'm going to get lazy. I just think we miss out on too much because we're too busy.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, isn't it? Actually wanting to be lazy because you're doing too much.
But I think lazy is probably the key. We don't call it lazy. We call it something else.
Yeah.
I'll come up with a term for you. But I just think that sometimes to allow another voice to pop into your head, or to allow your constant inner dialogue to just take a break for a moment, would be quite, I don't know. Who knows what might pop in?
Yeah. I guess that's where meditation and things like that come in. But I've never been able to get into meditate properly because my mind's always just wandering.
Yeah. My kids, Angus goes to a wee Catholic primary school here, and they meditate every week, which I think is really awesome. And he is a kid that can't sit still, and he loves it.
Wow.
So, yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, I guess it's practice.
Yeah, like everything else.
Yeah.
Get better at it. Yeah, true. Who's that? Is this you or me?
I think it's you.
Oh.
Take it back down to a starter question.
Starter question. When you go to a movie, do you like to sit in the back, middle, or front, and why?
I usually sit up the back.
Yeah.
Because then you can take in most of the screen without having to constantly look from side to side and follow what's happening. Sitting at the front, you just end up craning your neck the whole time, and it's just uncomfortable.
Yep.
And in the middle, you end up sitting with everyone.
So do you sit on the side?
I sit at the back in the middle. Generally, there aren't as many people at the back as in the middle, because everyone kind of clusters in the middle.
Yeah, you're true. And we don't really like people, so it's quite
no, exactly.
I'm teasing. No, look, I reckon I'd be the same. I tend to sit in the back, and I tend to sit in the middle.
Yeah.
I love the movies.
I haven't been in ages.
Right. Last one I went to was Silence. That was epic. Did you hear about that?
No.
It was pretty full on. It was a fundraiser for the church.
Ah, right, that one, yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Loved it. But I felt absolutely exhausted when I walked out.
Yeah.
However, it is school holidays, so I think we're going to head down there. This is like in the winter, autumn, winter, we choose one of the holidays and we'll go to the movies, because by the time you get all of us there, it's like $100.
A lot of work, yeah.
And so we make it a real big thing when we go. So I think we're going to head off down there, and I think Baby Boss seems to be on people's radar at the moment.
I don't pay a lot of attention to movies. It's that getting bored thing, you're going to have a really short attention span.
So do you not watch movies at all?
I do. It has to be a really good one. I think the last one I saw was Hunt for the Wilder People.
Oh, which was fantastic.
Oh, it was amazing.
I loved it.
But a lot of the time I will choose to wait till it comes out at home so I can do something else at the same time.
Yeah.
That's how I consume most of my content is by doing something else at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
I challenge you
Oh, no.
to just go down to one thing at a time and relax and enjoy it. No, look, I'm the same, I must admit. That's why I think I like going to the movies, because if I watch a movie at home, I always end up getting distracted or something else happens. But I really enjoy getting lost in a movie and I get totally involved in it. So yeah, I like to disappear for a couple of hours.
All right.
Yep.
Very good. I think we will leave it there because we're actually well over time already.
So typical of me. I like the last question.
You want to jump into the last
No,
question,
not at
finish it
all.
off?
No, I was just teasing the listeners.
Yeah, we because the question system's currently being redeveloped, we actually cheated a little bit with this one, and I had to pre-generate the questions, so we're actually sitting here with old-fashioned piece of paper with all the questions on it.
It's okay, we'll recycle the paper after we're finished.
Exactly. Well, thanks, Joe.
Hey, you were so welcome, and it actually wasn't quite as scary as I thought it would be, so if you have been asked by Dan, make sure you reply.
Yeah, all it really is a conversation with these microphones in front of you.
Yeah, and I'm finally almost used to it.
I have to get you back on some more podcasts.
No! Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
No worries, thanks, Dan.
If you'd like to be on the show, you can go to tcbi.nz/guestform and sign up. Anybody is welcome to sign up, and I would love to talk with you. And until next time, to our listeners, add one friend to one episode of this podcast with two open minds and see where it leads. Thanks for listening.
Now that was interesting. Bye-bye.